Discover the incredible transformation. How a hidden truth at my daughter-in-law's wedding changed everything. The wedding day dawned bright and clear in Maplewood, but Clara Thompson felt the weight of clouds looming over her heart. She stood near the community center, the town's beloved jewel, draped in white ribbons and flowers, a place bursting with joy and laughter. Yet within her chest lay a storm. Clara, a hard-working single mother in her mid-40s, had always been the strong one, the invisible rock to her family. After her painful divorce years ago, she fought tirelessly to support her 2 children, her own heart often a quiet casualty. Today was meant to be a celebration, but she felt like a ghost among the living, an imposter in a dream she hadn't been invited to. As colorful decorations swung beneath the bright sun and the cheerful faces of relatives danced around, Clara's stomach churned. She watched her daughter-in-law's family laugh and tease, their warmth bringing a familiar ache of insecurity. Were they judging her? Where she came from didn't align with their laughter, their bravado. She reminded herself to smile, but inside, she felt her heart tighten, as whispers about social standing brushed against her ears like cold wind. Just then Clara stumbled upon Charlie, a war veteran and an unexpected friend from her past. His face lit up with recognition and admiration. "Clara, look at you. You've come so far," he said, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. In that moment, the memory of resilience surged within her. They reminisced about times when she felt strong and capable, reminding her of the grit that had been hidden beneath her layers of doubt. "Remember the time you told me? Never let the world define your worth." Charlie grinned, the words echoing in her mind like a battle cry. And just like that, something in Clara shifted. She watched the dance floor fill with joy and music, and in that moment decided to step beyond the shadows. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clara found herself raising a glass. As she spoke, her heart leapt, and she shared the truth about her journey, the struggles of being a single mother, the solitude, the financial strains, and the absolute love that fueled her every day. Faces turned towards her, and instead of whispers of pity, she saw understanding blossom in their eyes. The weight lifted, her burdens known, and bonds formed in a swirl of vulnerability. But before the moment settled into the beauty of acceptance, an unsettling tension rippled through the room. A comment about who truly deserves happiness sliced through the camaraderie, igniting old prejudices as family members divided in a surprisingly charged atmosphere. Clara's heart raced. She felt the ground beneath her tremble, knowing this newfound hope was teetering on the brink of chaos. As she grappled with the resurgence of whispers and the uncertainty of acceptance, Clara stood at a crossroads. Would she fight for belonging, risking more hurt, or retreat to the shadows that had cradled her pain for so long? The music lingered beautifully, each note a reminder of the joy that could still emerge. Clara breathed deeply, the moment hanging in the air, ready to reshape her world forever. Clara's heart thudded as she felt the weight of judgment from the glances around her. The cheers that had accompanied her speech turned into awkward murmurs, like a pot silently boiling over. She looked around at the faces, each one a mix of shock and uncertainty. Instead of the supportive smiles she had hoped for, she sensed discomfort brewing beneath their cheerful facade. With her pulse racing, Clara sought out the source of the offensive remark. It came from her sister-in-law Rachel, whose painted smile couldn't hide the scorn glinting in her eyes. It stung more than she cared to admit. Clara had never been close to Rachel, their relationship often marked by a competitive edge. But today of all days? Who truly deserves happiness? Clara's words echoed in her mind, leaving her feeling stripped of the bravery she had just summoned. "Let us keep it light, shall we?" Rachel waved a dismissive hand, forcing a laugh that fell flat. "Some of us have had to work much harder for our happiness." There it was, the implication hanging thick in the air. Clara's cheeks burned. Did Rachel think she had taken a shortcut to happiness? That her struggles were somehow invalidated? "Rachel, that's not fair," Clara said, her voice thicker than she intended. She couldn't let her fragile courage slip away now. I fought my entire life for my family, for happiness. Just like everyone else here. The music faded into the background. Clara felt the energy in the room shift. Tension became a palpable thing, wrapping around them all. Faces that had been so eager to celebrate now hesitated, caught between loyalty and derision. From across the dance floor, Clara glimpsed Charlie. He nodded, an encouraging light in his eyes. His silent support anchored her as she took a deep breath, feeling a surge of strength. We all have our battles, Rachel, she continued, her voice steady now, and I refuse to let anyone belittle mine. A ripple of murmur swept through the guests, and Clara sensed the hesitance fade, replaced by curiosity. We're all here because we care for Jessica and Mark, she added, heat still radiating from her skin, and that should be the focus today. Joy, love, and acceptance. The air seemed to shimmer with possibility. Clara could see nods of agreement, faces softening. But Rachel pursed her lips, keeping the tension alive with silence. Then Jessica, her daughter-in-law, stepped forward, her eyes darting between Clara and Rachel, like a referee in a silent match. Mom, everyone has worked so hard to be here today, she said gently, including Clara. Let us remember that our love is what brought us all together. Can we really lose sight of that? Clara's heart swelled. Jessica had always been the glue in their family. And in that moment Rachel's facade cracked. I didn't mean, she started, but the words faltered as she glanced down at her plate. Clara could see the flicker of realization in her eyes. Perhaps Rachel, too, felt trapped in her own expectations. Tension still hummed, but the empathy in Jessica's voice stirred something in the room. People were beginning to soften, to listen, if only for a moment. Clara could feel a shift, a chance to rebuild what had been momentarily shattered. But the last word had not yet been spoken. A voice from the back of the room piped up, cutting through the mounting quiet. Maybe we should all share our stories. Truth is powerful, right? Clara's breath hitched. What if everyone spoke? What if her truth wasn't the only one shrouded in doubt and discomfort? Would sharing stories unravel the tangled web of expectations? As she exchanged glances with Charlie, she felt the call of something deeper. A yearning for openness. A chance to heal not just her own wounds but others too. Should we do that? Clara murmured, half to herself, half to the crowd. In that moment, she stood not just as the rock for her family, but as a beacon of hope, inviting others to step into the light. And as she took a step closer towards the dance floor, she felt the journey of transformation beginning anew. What lay ahead was unknown, but it was hers to face, along with everyone else standing in a circle of love and vulnerability. But would the others join her in this leap toward honesty and healing? Clara's heart raced with anticipation as she watched the room's energy shift once more. Clara felt her stomach tighten. The suggestion of sharing stories had a way of knocking the breath from her lungs. The room fell into a silence that felt both heavy and hopeful, pregnant with expectation. People were looking at each other, murmurs swirling about, as if they were testing the waters of this strange, vulnerable invitation. Who wants to go first? Clara asked, her voice trembling slightly. She took a step forward, her own heartbeat drowning out the music as she scanned the crowd. A woman near the back, someone Clara recognized but didn't know well, raised her hand. Marie, the one with the infectious laugh everyone adored, stood up. Clara felt a swell of relief. If Marie could share, maybe others would too. I will, Marie said, her voice brave. I've struggled with feeling, well, unworthy of joy. She took a steadying breath. For years I thought if I didn't work harder than everyone else, I wouldn't earn the good things in life. But I realized that joy isn't a reward. It's a choice. Clara noticed a ripple go through the crowd, heads nodding in understanding. Marie continued, her eyes glistening. I had a chance to travel last year. I was terrified to leave my children, to pursue something just for me. But you know what? Changed me. I found joy in moments I fought so hard to suppress. There was a momentary pause, then applause erupted as if the room had been taken by storm. Clara's heart swelled. This was it, the moment they needed permission to be vulnerable, to be real. Slowly others began to rise. Ben, a distant cousin with a story that always landed awkwardly at family gatherings, rose too. I've always felt invisible, he admitted, voice cracking. No one noticed when I was struggling. But when I took a leap to start my own business, I faced my fears. I realized I was worth seeing. Cheers filled the air again, and Clara couldn't help but join in the applause, feeling lighter with each shared truth. The act of vulnerability slowly peeled off the layers of judgment, exposing the raw heart of connection. Rachel, still tense at her table, observed silently. Clara caught her gaze, and for a moment, both women seemed to pause in shared understanding. Clara felt hope sparking there, even if it was small. As the stories flowed, Jessica joined in, sharing her own burdens of expectations. Being a mom was harder than I imagined, she confessed, a glistening tear trailing down her cheek. And I always felt like I had to smile through it, keep everything perfect. But I've learned that it's okay not to have it all together. The room filled with a warmth that clung to everyone like an embrace. Clara could feel the energy shifting. It was filled with empowerment, healing, and most importantly, forgiveness. Finally, it was Rachel's turn. Clara crossed her fingers, holding her breath. Would Rachel choose to join this circle of openness? Or would she retreat like she often did? Fine, I'll share. Rachel blurted, surprising everyone. She stood, vulnerability dancing in her eyes as she looked around. I always thought I had to be the strong one in the family, the one who didn't need help. But then I realized how lonely that made me. I was holding everyone at arm's length while yearning for closeness. Gasps echoed softly, and Clara felt heat rising within her chest, flooding her with empathy. As Rachel spoke, Clara felt as if boundaries were crumbling. Each shared story was a brick taken out of the wall that had kept them apart. But what would the outcome be? Would they walk away stronger, or would old resentment surface anew? As Rachel finished, the applause roared again. But this time it felt different, like a cleansing tide washing over their family. But just as Clara turned to meet Charlie's proud smile, she heard a sudden crash from the back of the room. Someone had fallen. Clara's heart raced, uncertainty gripping her as everyone gasped in shock. What had happened? Would their moment of healing slip away into chaos? Clara's pulse quickened as she raced toward the sound, knowing that whatever lay ahead could either deepen their newfound connections or tear them apart. With the air thick with tension, she took her first step into the unknown. Clara pushed her way through the crowd, her heart thudding loudly in her chest. The laughter and chatter that had filled the room moments ago was replaced by a tense silence. She could see a figure crumpled on the floor, faces turning towards the scene, concern etched into everyone's features. As she neared, she recognized the fallen figure, Marie. Clara knelt beside her, instinctively checking for signs of consciousness. Marie's eyes fluttered open, confusion knitting her brow. The room swayed around Clara. The caffeine from the earlier coffee rushing in her veins didn't help the panic surging through her. "Marie?" Clara murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you okay?" Marie blinked a few times, the shock in her eyes slowly morphing into something softer. "Yeah, I just feel a bit dizzy," she said, her voice shaky. Clara helped her sit up and looked around for someone to assist. "Charlie, get the first aid kit," she called over her shoulder, keeping her gaze fixed on Marie. "Just breathe, all right? In and out. Going to be fine." The room began to buzz again as others stepped forward to help. Clara's attention shifted to the crowd, woven with uncertainty yet watching with warm concern. Their moment of connection threatened by chaos was indeed a fragile thread. "I'm sorry," Marie stammered. "I didn't mean to disrupt everything." "I just no need to apologize," Clara interrupted gently, instinctively patting Maria's shoulder. "You're not alone here. We're all in this together. Just take it easy." As Marie rested against Clara's arm, the sounds of the gathering settled into a comforting hum. The group's energy shifted again, building a sanctuary of support around them. Slowly, people began sharing reassuring words, encouraging Marie to breathe deeply. Clara could feel the walls around them collapsing, revealing an even richer tapestry of bonds that were being woven under the bright chandeliers. "Hey, let me share a little something too," came a voice from the back. It was Ben stepping forward once again. "Marie, your vulnerability inspired me to talk. But I also realize now about how you felt. No one is perfect, right? I think we all have those moments where we stumble, but we shouldn't hide them." Laughter mixed with gentle applause, and even Marie managed a weak smile. The room embraced the emotion as if gathering to wrap around them like a quilt. Clara could see Rachel's eyes shining, filled with awe at the transformation spiraling through the air. With each voice that joined in, it was like a cascade of redemption stories shared in the glow of a family room that still felt like home. Everyone had come together in a way that felt almost profound, lifting the weight of their individual struggles. Yet amidst the rising strength of their connections, Clara noticed an undercurrent, a thought hanging in the air that both scared and excited her. What if this moment of vulnerability was just the beginning? Would they all come together again? As she watched Marie begin to stand, shaky but determined, Clara knew that something significant had shifted, perhaps forever altering their family dynamics. "Thank you everyone," Marie said, her voice steadier now. She looked directly at Clara with appreciation shining in her gaze. "I didn't think I needed this, but I did." As Clara smiled back, a fresh wave of emotions washed over her. She felt hopeful yet terrified what else would come to light. Just then, with a collective gasp, the door burst open. In walked someone Clara never expected to see, a shadow from the past that could shatter the fragile peace they had begun to build. Who could it be? And would their presence mend the newly woven tapestry or unravel it completely? Clara's heart dropped. The door creaked as it swung wide, revealing a figure cloaked in a memory she had fought hard to bury. Lucas, her ex-brother-in-law, stood in the doorway, hesitant yet undeniably present. His eyes scanned the room, locking onto Clara's with a mixture of surprise and something deeper, a hint of regret. The silence that fell was thick enough to cut. Faces turned again, this time filled with confusion and curiosity rather than concern. Marie took a tentative step back, her earlier resolve shattering like glass. Clara felt the warmth of support around her dwindle. "Lucas," Clara finally managed to utter, a tremor in her voice. A rush of emotions flooded back, good memories mingled with painful ones, all colliding at once. She could see the years etched into the lines of his face, the man who once embraced her family like his own. Yet here he was, the man who had left in anger, taking with him the light that had once filled their lives. "Clara, I know it's unexpected," Lucas began, his voice rough around the edges, balancing on the razor-thin line between anxiety and hope. "I was just passing by and, well, I got through the door, and is that really an excuse?" Clara interjected, her protectiveness flaring. "You left us, Lucas. Do you have any idea the damage that caused?" The whispers across the crowd grew, people shifting uneasily as emotion curled around them. Clara felt the eyes of her friends, felt their supportive energy flicker. She caught Maria's gaze, still shaky but filled with a fierce determination to stand by her. "Yes, I made mistakes," Lucas replied, his tone steadying, almost pleading. "But I came here to apologize, to tell you I've changed. I want to fix this. I want back in." "Back in?" Clara scoffed, frustration pouring out. "You think it's that easy? You think you can just stroll through the door and pretend like nothing happened?" "I don't expect forgiveness," he replied softly, the weight of years dragging his shoulders down. "But I've missed all of you. I want to make it right somehow." The room hummed with tension, breaths held as if bracing for an explosion. Clara felt her chest tighten. Was this really the moment she'd been waiting for? Or was it just another cruel trick of fate? The memories muddled her thoughts, family gatherings, shared laughter that darkened when he left. Clara's pulse quickened, torn between the desire for closure and the instinct to protect her family. "People don't just get to show up and expect everything to be okay," she said, her voice a whisper now, caught between vulnerability and defiance. She caught sight of Rachel, cradling her son with wide eyes, searching for guidance in her mother's expression. Clara knew the crowd felt the weight of this moment, the heavy stakes hanging in the air. A low murmur spiraled through the gathering, each voice a reflection of the uncertainty surrounding them. Some wanted to give Lucas a chance. Others were still grappling with anger. Clara remained silent, wrestling with her heart. Finally, at the door's threshold, Lucas took a step closer, his gaze unwavering. "I'll do whatever it takes," he promised, desperation underlying his tone. "Just give me a chance, please." Clara's heart raced as she faced the man who had once been part of their lives, and the potential chaos he could unleash again. Did she really have the strength to forgive? Could her family endure the fallout if she chose to let him in? The room buzzed with anticipation, all eyes on her. As emotions danced in the air, Clara understood this wasn't merely about Lucas. It was about their future. The question lingered, was she ready to reclaim the threads of their past, or would she cut them forever? The door to possibility stood ajar, waiting for her answer. But could she find the courage to step through? Clara's mind raced with the weight of Lucas's words, the tension vibrating through the room like a live wire. The silence that followed felt oppressive, each second stretching like a mile. She could feel the eyes on her, varying degrees of disbelief and curiosity swirling among the crowd. Would she really do this? As Lucas took another step forward, Clara fought the instinct to retreat. He looked somehow smaller than she remembered, worn down by time and regret. I know I hurt you, I hurt all of you, he continued, his voice a bare whisper now, cracking around the edges. But I need you to understand, I've spent these years thinking about what? Clara cut him off, her voice sharper than she intended. Thinking about how you left us without a word. What could possibly explain that? Lucas swallowed hard. His emotions laid bare for everyone to see. I didn't know how to say goodbye. The guilt ate at me. I thought it would be better if I just faded away. But it hasn't been better. I miss my family every single day. Her heart thudded against her ribcage as memories crashed like waves. Laughter over family dinners, holidays full of warmth then. The void he left behind. She felt the pull of nostalgia. A longing to return to those moments, but doubt clawed at her. You can't just waltz back in here and expect me to forget everything. Trust isn't like a light switch, Lucas. The murmurs around them grew louder, rippling through the crowd. Some nudged each other, while others stood quietly in thought. Clara caught Rachel's gaze again, deep concern reflected in her daughter's eyes, and it hit her hard. This wasn't just about her and Lucas. It was about family. Seeing the vulnerability in Lucas stirred something within Clara. The man standing in front of her was different, reshaped by time and experience, but was that enough? What makes you think you've really changed? She challenged, her voice softening but still laced with caution. Why should I believe you now? Because I want to earn it, he said fervently, stepping even closer, now just inches away from her. I'm ready to fight for my place, for your trust. Just give me a chance to show you. The desperation etched across in Lucas' features made her breath hitch. Part of her yearned to reach out and heal the old wounds. Another part screamed to protect what little peace she had left. Clara raked a hand through her hair, feeling the weight of the world pressing down. Could she really open that door? Was there even a chance for healing? As she looked around, she noticed an unlikely ally, a woman in the back. A stranger, tears glistening in her eyes, as she nodded subtly. Was that a sign? Heart pounding, Clara took a deep breath, feeling courage rise within. She was not just fighting for herself. She was fighting for her family, her children's legacy. You say you've changed? What are you willing to do to prove it? I'll do anything, Lucas replied breathlessly. I'll accept any consequences. Just tell me what you need from me. The hum of the crowd faded. Clara felt the heat of their anticipation. Would she let Lucas back in, or would she slam the door shut once and for all? In that moment, Clara realized she was standing on the edge of a great unknown, a choice that could redefine their path. The air crackled with potential as the crowd held their breath, waiting for her next move. Clara's voice faltered, the decision weighing down on her. But just as she opened her mouth to speak, a sudden loud crash echoed from outside. Shattering the moment, heads turned in alarm as confusion surged through the room. Clara's heart raced anew. What now? The weight of her decision pressed on like a fragile thread about to snap. As the clamor erupted outside, she knew the real storm was just beginning. Clara felt cold all over, the tension breaking like glass at the sound of chaos from beyond the room. People turned toward the exit, eyes wide, uncertainty radiating in every whisper that fluttered through the crowd. Clara's pulse thundered in her ears as she instinctively took a step back, her focus shifting from Lucas to the disturbance outside. What was that? Rachel's voice broke through the din, trembling but urgent. Clara could see her daughter's concern etched into her features, mirroring the worries of the others present. Stay here, Clara instructed, her words both a command and a plea. She hesitated, a flood of thoughts crashing in her mind. Should she confront the source of the noise, or linger in the emotional turmoil of Lucas's return? The decision felt insurmountable. Lucas's voice came from beside her, low and steady. I'll check it out with you. There was no debate in his tone, as if he believed sharing this moment could shift everything back toward normalcy. He moved toward the door and she followed, adrenaline coursing through her veins as they stepped outside. the atmosphere shifted dramatically. A crowd gathered, voices rising in alarm. Clara squinted against the fading sunlight, her eyes catching the sight of several people pointing at a large van that had skidded to a halt a few feet away, its side peppered with dented marks. An anxious woman stood near it, clutching a child in her arms, both wrapped tightly in cozy jackets. Before Clara could process what was happening, a familiar figure stepped forward from the crowd toward the van. A friend from the neighborhood, Margaret. "I saw it coming. We need to get them away from the road," she exclaimed, her voice laced with urgency. Panic gripped her as she scanned the scene. The sound of screeching tires had filled the air moments before, and her instincts screamed that every moment mattered. "We need to help," Clara shouted, hurriedly making her way toward the woman and her child. Suddenly, the chaotic noise faded, leaving only the sound of her own heartbeat as she assessed the situation. Clara reached out, brushing off the child's jacket to reveal a scrape on his arm. "Are you okay?" she asked, kneeling down to meet his frightened gaze. "I'm fine," he managed, though tears welled in his eyes. Next to her, conversations buzzed, forming a murmur that surged outside of the private crisis she faced with the child. Lucas moved through the crowd, asking questions, offering assistance with any family member needing support in the aftermath. Clara felt an unexpected spark of gratitude for his presence. This was not about them anymore. It was about the people needing help. That as they began to resolve the chaos, Clara's heart reminded her of the earlier tension in the room, a tension that suddenly seemed trivial. She looked over at Lucas, whose intense focus on protecting others warmed her heart amid the shock. Maybe there was a chance for healing, for understanding. The cacophony of the scene began to settle, but Clara's mind still raced. What if we just pushed everything away, pretending it was okay when it was not? She pondered, feeling the weight of unresolved feelings cascade back onto her shoulders. But as she knelt there, she also felt hope stir a new beginning, like an ember igniting from the ashes of the wreckage. Just as the crowd began to disperse, a voice rang out from the back. "Does anyone know what happened to the driver?" It was a sharp reminder that although this moment was drawn out, unanswered questions lingered. As Clara stood, a connection began to form, not just with Lucas, but with each person affected, each one a piece of the intricate puzzle of their lives. The decision still loomed over her like a storm cloud. Would she let Lucas back into her life fully? Or would this still be overshadowed by uncertainty? The echo of the child's voice, soft yet powerful, resonated in her mind. "I'm fine." Was that enough to start again with Lucas, or would she bury herself in fear? The night ahead held its own shadows. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Clara lingered at the edge of the crowd, her heart still racing, the world around her a blurred swirl of faces. Each worried expression mirrored her own fear. What had just happened? She glanced at Lucas, who was tending to the anxious woman, his calm demeanor a counterpoint to the chaos that had erupted moments before. "Clara." Rachel's voice broke her thoughts, pulling her back. The young girl's eyes were wide with concern. "What is happening? Is everyone okay?" Clara forced a smile, hiding the tangle of emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. "It'll be all right, sweetheart. Just a little accident." But the weight of her words felt heavy and false. As if to reaffirm her doubts, another voice cut through the air, a frantic call that had everyone's attention turning towards the van again. "What do we do about the driver?" The question hung there, electrifying the air with worry. Clara's stomach twisted tight. Before she could respond, Lucas was already moving again. Clara watched as he approached the van, a grimace etched on his face. He seemed to know they needed to act, and fast. "Let us go check," he said, urgency in his tone, and without waiting for a reply, he beckoned her to follow. Clara's feet felt glued to the ground for a moment, the potential consequences of this moment flashing through her mind. What if the driver was hurt? What if it was worse? Weighing the choice, she finally pushed herself forward, fueled by the drive to help and perhaps to connect. As they reached the vehicle, Lucas leaned in, peering through the driver's window. There sat a man, disheveled and pale, his hands gripping the wheel as though it were his only lifeline. "Sir?" Lucas called out, his voice steady yet soft. "Are you okay?" The man's eyes slowly lifted, wide with fear, and Clara became acutely aware of the vulnerability hanging in his gaze. This was raw, the fear threading through them all. threads that bound a community together in this moment of chaos. She wanted to reach out, tell him everything would be okay, but words clogged in her throat. Suddenly, the man crumpled forward, and Clara's heart dropped. "We need to get him out," she insisted, her voice breaking through the now electric silence. Lucas sprang into action, opening the door with a resolve that startled her. The air filled with urgency. "Help me," he shouted. Clara hurried to his side, and they carefully pulled the man free from the van, the vibration of fear echoing between them. Once he was safely on the ground, the man groaned softly. What happened? He seemed disoriented, struggling to comprehend. "Just take a deep breath," Clara soothed, kneeling next to him. "You're safe now." With each passing second, relief washed over her. Whatever happened between her and Lucas could wait. Helping this man, being a part of something larger than herself, invigorated her. She felt hope, a spark igniting her spirit again. Amidst the laughter and chatter of the crowd growing closer, a pang of loss cut through Clara. What had she almost let go? She glanced at Lucas, who was supporting the man's weight, his concern evident. His presence, once a source of confusion, now felt like the anchor. Just then, a police car rounded the corner, lights flashing, and Clara's heart sank. What had begun as a chaotic moment was about to escalate. The sense of normalcy she clung to began to feel even further from her grasp. The unexpected turn had everyone holding their breath. What would happen next? Would they be able to keep moving forward as a community, bound together by this incident? Or would it tear at the seams of vulnerability they all felt? Clara closed her eyes for a brief second, feeling the weight of the night pressing down on her. When she opened them, she realized that the only way was forward. But what would that look like? As the sirens grew louder and voices started mingling again with fresh energy, Clara felt a tremor of anticipation. The question loomed. Could they really come together again? Or would this group, a mix of strangers and friends, stay forever changed by the chaos of the evening? In that moment, one thought pierced through everything. Maybe the truth about Lucas was now more important than ever. Clara's heart pounded in her chest as the police car came to a halt. A police officer stepped out, his face serious, ready to assess the situation. The world around her felt surreal, almost as if time had slowed. All eyes now focused on a scene that had spiraled from chaos to order within seconds. "Step back, everyone," the officer commanded, his voice cutting through the murmurs of curiosity. Clara felt the urge to intervene, to explain how the man had needed them, how they had pulled him to safety. But she stood frozen, a witness to the transformation happening before her. Lucas remained close to the driver, offering a steadying presence as the officer approached them. The man's disoriented gaze turned towards the officer, relief mingling with fear in his eyes. I didn't mean to. I don't know what happened," he stammered. "Take it easy, sir," the officer replied, squatting down to meet the man where he was, even as the crowd watched, rapt with concern. "Can you tell me your name?" Clara held her breath, her hands balled up nervously, waiting for the moment the driver would respond. She could see the tremble in his lips as he opened his mouth to speak. It's Frank," he finally uttered. "I'm going to get you some help, Frank," the officer assured him. "You're not alone, okay?" The officer's calm voice seemed to resonate with everyone present. The words had power. Simple, yet enough for a shiver of unity to ripple through the crowd. Clara felt a small flicker of hope, a reminder of what it meant to connect, to be there for one another. "Why don't we step back a little, folks?" The officer called to the spectators, and slowly, they began to disperse, creating space for the professionals to do their jobs. Clara watched as the scene unfolded, feeling strangely connected to the very man who had been a stranger only moments ago. Rachel sidled up next to Clara, her expression solemn. "Is he going to be okay?" she asked softly. Clara nodded, even though her own mind was teetering on the edge of uncertainty. "He will be. He just needs help, Rachel." But as the police began their assessment, Clara's thoughts drifted back to Lucas. His presence had become vital, steadying her heart through the storm. He caught her gaze, his expression softening as he stepped toward her. "What you did back there," he started, his voice hushed, filled with earnestness. "It felt right," Clara interrupted, her voice taking on a firmness she didn't entirely feel. "You being so calm, it gave us both strength." Lucas nodded, his eyes searching hers. "You were brave, Clara. And I think this day is more important than we realize." There was an intensity in his gaze, an unspoken acknowledgement of the bond they forged amidst the chaos. Before she could respond, another voice broke in. "Look, they're taking Frank away." The crowd buzzed with curiosity again, shifting their focus onto the paramedics who had arrived. Clara felt both relief and a fresh wave of anxiety. They wheeled Frank away in a stretcher, leaving Clara aware that uncertainties remained. She couldn't escape the feeling that they had crossed a threshold, and whatever lay on the other side could either tear them apart or bring them closer than ever. "Let us stick around until we know he's okay," Clara suggested, more to herself than anyone else. But just as Clara felt a sense of resolve taking hold, a darker thought crept in. What other truths would emerge from this evening? And what parts of herself had she yet to confront? As the paramedics called out updates about Frank, Clara stole a glance back at Lucas. What lay ahead for them? The persistent echo of her heart's questions mingled with the chaotic sounds of the night. Would this experience tie them together in ways she never expected? And then her thoughts twisted back into the deeper alleys of their shared past. What hidden truths were still waiting to be revealed? The night wore on, the air buzzed with uncertainty, but something had shifted. Clara stood at the intersection of hope and fear, tethered to Lucas and the anxious crowd as they waited for news of Frank. The chaos caused by the accident had surprisingly resonated with an echo of vulnerability, uncovering hidden layers of connection among them all. Clara's heart swelled, recognizing glimmers of strength weaving through their communal experience. Across the crowd, Rachel leaned closer to Clara. "Do you think he'll be okay?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes flicking nervously back to the stretcher. Clara nodded, though her heart was still heavy with unresolved tension. "I hope so. He needs this and so do we." Moments later, the officer stepped back, giving the crowd a moment to breathe while the paramedics loaded Frank into the ambulance. There was a sadness in the air, but Clara felt the community binding closer. It was as if each shared worry bridged gaps that had once felt insurmountable. "Everyone," the officer began, capturing their focus, "Frank will receive the care he needs thanks to the quick actions of the people here tonight." Clara's heart raced at the recognition, a warmth filling her chest. They had acted together, borne witness, and in doing so, had reclaimed the essence of family, not just her family, but the broader circle of friends and neighbors. Before she could process that new revelation, Lucas stepped into her view. "You did something amazing tonight, Clara," he said softly, the intensity of his gaze holding more meaning than mere words. "You showed how much we can achieve when we come together." Her heart hammered a little louder now, a mix of gratitude and hesitation swirling within her. "But that doesn't erase everything that's happened between us," she replied, a gentle resolve invigorating her words. "It doesn't mean I can trust you just yet. Trust is built, I get that," Lucas said, his tone sincere. "And I'm willing to take it step by step. I know I messed up, but seeing you stand there, ready to support others when it mattered most, it inspired me." Clara absorbed his words, searching his eyes for signs of the man she once loved. Maybe they could find common ground again. Yet it wouldn't be easy. A renewed bond would require exposure to their past wounds, the ones that festered like old scars. She glanced over to see Rachel engaged in conversation with friends, a sense of pausing hope lighting her expression. In that moment, Clara realized they all needed to move forward together. Suddenly, a voice called out, breaking the moment. "Clara!" It was Marie, her face lighting up as she rushed over. "You won't believe it, I heard from the paramedics. Frank's going to be okay." Tears of relief and joy erupted. Clara hugged Marie, overwhelmed. "Thank goodness," she exclaimed, savoring the embrace of her friend and taking in the mingled sense of triumph and community. The crowd erupted in applause, laughter mingling with sighs of relief, filling the atmosphere with buoyancy. With the darkness that had overshadowed her heart lifting, Clara turned back to Lucas, and a sudden epiphany crashed over her. Tonight was more than just a turning point for Frank. It's a moment of transformation for all of us. So much has been broken, and even though it still hurts, I see a chance for healing. Her voice was steady, filled with a newfound lightness. "I don't know what the future holds for us, but maybe we can start over, clear the slate and build from the ground up." Lucas's jump of hope was palpable. "I want that, Clara." Just let me in and I promise to give this everything I have. As the stars peaked brightly in the night sky, Clara finally let her defenses lower, just a smidge. She smiled, feeling free for the first time in ages. Let us take it one day at a time together. In that moment, Clara realized they were no longer defined by shadows of their pasts. The tapestry of life was woven from both light and dark, and together, they would create something beautiful from the threads of their experiences. With the crowd still buzzing with excitement and hope, Clara took a step forward into a new future, a brighter path illuminated by the strength of community, love and acceptance. As they moved back inside the community center, arms linking with familiarity, Clara sensed newfound warmth surrounding her, a powerful reminder that not only was she not alone, but she was also loved more than she could ever comprehend. This was just the beginning. Now here's the deal, my good friends. If you don't want to miss even one of these incredible transformations, you need to subscribe right now. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and give us the push we need. Comment below to share your thoughts, your feelings about this journey we just went on together. And for the love of all that's good, share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand just how important your support is.